Welcome to Unmuted. I'm Judge E.J. Russell, your host, and we're going to chat for a little bit about Medicaid expansion. Medicaid expansion. Just 10 states have not expanded Medicaid, and most of those are in the South or Southeast, where Republicans dominate in the legislatures. But a whole decade after the Affordable Care Act made the option available, Medicaid expansion is becoming harder to resist. Now, in the state of Mississippi, both the House Speaker, Jason White, and Lieutenant Governor Delbert Hosemann, who's president of the Senate, publicly announced support for expanding health insurance coverage through Medicaid to the working poor of our state, which could give upwards of 250,000 people the chance to have health insurance. That is significant. 250,000 people. The House has already passed a bill to establish prenatal care for pregnant women, which would, if passed by the Senate and signed by the governor, who, by the way, is opposed to Medicaid expansion, give women assumed eligibility for Medicaid and let them have those insurance benefits for 60 days while their application with the Division of Medicaid is being processed. Now, the Mississippi legislature is in session, and the deadline to introduce bills, general bills, has passed. Over 2,000 bills have been introduced or filed, and that's a lot of work. Now, we know most of those probably won't make it, but at least 40 of those 2,000 bills have to do with the expansion of Medicaid coverage. According to the Division of Medicaid, those who receive full coverage must make no more than between 135 and 250% of the state's poverty rate, depending on the coverage sought. According to the Hope Policy Institute, the state's poverty rate is $24,000 for a family of 4 and $19,000 for an individual. I challenge any of those viewing this to try to live on $19,000 a year or $24,000 a year with a family of 4.
Join us for the Sustainable Farming Institute Workshop Series, Saturday, March 16th from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. at the Farmers Hands Market, located at the Jackson Medical Mall. Register at the website or scan the QR code.
There are at least 7 additional bills which would use federal dollars only and allow anyone that is eligible to be covered if you are under the poverty level. Just if you are under the poverty level, you get to be covered, not these other percentages of under the poverty level. Now, it is interesting that in Mississippi, our leadership has finally come to the realization that good, healthy people who would make up your workforce help you with economic development. You need a healthy workforce in order for companies to want to come to your state. So at least that has gotten through. I'm sure that they don't necessarily want it because it is attached with the Affordable Care Act. But for 10 years, there has not been a better option put on the table from a national perspective, from Congress, or from the state level with individuals in the state. So Arkansas sort of started, and I don't know that they called theirs Medicaid expansion, but they were able to capture the dollars and call it something else, even though it is Medicaid expansion. Now in December, North Carolina became the latest state to expand Medicaid. And now, GOP brokers in Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia suggest that there might be an open to join them eventually. Sounds almost like the old adage of with all deliberate speed. Over plates of fried chicken and mashed potatoes, Georgia legislators and policymakers, including many Republicans, gathered near the state capitol to hear from neighboring states that have taken the plunge. It was not a very pleasant journey very early on, the North Carolina Republican Representative Donnie Lambert told the assembled group. I was one of the few Republicans. My party would not accept it, but I would tell you, you need to be patient. Keep working, don't give up. Lambert says he spent almost a decade trying to convince his colleagues in the GOP-controlled legislature to expand Medicaid several times, and he almost gave up. But Lambert stuck with it, framing his pitch as closing the coverage gap instead of expanding Medicaid, and telling his colleagues the stories he heard from people around the state. The tree farmers, the strawberry farmers, the things they all told me. We don't have health insurance, but we have a family farm. We're going to lose it if we have a catastrophic event, health event. Lambert also assured Georgia lawmakers that none of his GOP colleagues lost a primary over their support for expansion. And in the state of Mississippi, a poll shows that 76% of the population wants Medicaid expansion. In North Carolina, they have roughly 600,000 low-income people who are eligible for coverage. In Georgia, 400,000 people. And in Mississippi, 300,000 people if you just use the poverty level, and 250,000 if you use some percentage of the poverty level. That is over 1.1 million people who would be covered for health care. And maybe we can improve our mortality rates in the South. Now, Republican lawmakers, as well as Mississippi lawmakers, are eyeing a model that was deployed by Arkansas, where Medicaid expansion dollars fund the purchase of private insurance plans. In some of their surrounding states from Arkansas, there were 58 hospitals that closed, but none were closed in Arkansas. Mississippi, on any given day right now, has 48 hospitals on the brink of collapse. But for whatever reasons, political reasons it seems, we just can't seem to get it done. There are some legislators who want to attach some percentage of contribution based on your work to get Medicaid expansion. But one thing they all understand is that Medicaid expansion is an economic agent. It will allow struggling hospitals to remain open, serve the underserved, the uninsured, low income in their areas, and keep others employed. Many Republicans have come to acknowledge these gaps and are willing to take a step. And we may have to do it in bits and pieces, but at least they are open to consideration. You'll have to look at your constituents and tell them why they must go to an emergency room, which may be an 1.5 to 2 hours drive because hospitals are closing every day. I'm Judge E.J. Russell. You're watching Unmuted. We'll be back.
Register for the Time to Equip Farmers Workshop, Friday, March 15th, 2024, from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m., held at the Farmers Hands Market, located at the Jackson Medical Mall. To register, scan the QR code.